Hi, happy day. Welcome to my space. My name is Ashley. So far, I have been sharing my thoughts on sex, money, and death. And one that I touched base on in one of my videos was very near and dear to my heart. It's play. As a grown ass woman, I am 37 years old. I promise you, I prioritize play and pleasure. Also, because I think that it's almost impossible not to have pleasure when you're playing. And I think that like in the bigger picture of sex and these threads that come through, like why not be playing when you're having pleasure? So as they go through everything, for instance, I will always prioritize play over my fear of death. I tend to face that shit head on. I do scary shit. And I think that because in a way I find play makes me feel the most alive. And I understand that through my experience with adults, I have friends that play. But I also have a lot of people in my life that are kind of not afraid to play. And definitely, I live in Jackson Hole and these people aren't afraid to play. Like they're playing. But even their play sometimes has the objective of it being exercise, or the objective of it being something else, when really play is like no objective. It's supposed to be in the present, kind of the art of doing nothing. And so super long story short, because like not every part of your past necessarily needs to be completely the only purpose you have around something, but it is, I think, worth mentioning that I had a lot of play when I was younger. My dad is like a giant kid, Peter Pan all the way, and loved to play. On the equal flip side, I had a lot of responsibility in my household with my little sister and just, a lot of adult situations that I feel like I could have easily lost a lot of like my whimsical nostalgia, but because I don't have any kids and I really prioritized myself through most of my life, I'd be playing like a lot. And I invite anybody else to come and play with me. I think one of the joys of my life is experiencing play with people that I love. For shits and giggles, to give you this story, I've been a hairstylist for about 17 years. I left Orlando in 2018 when I won a helicopter pilot lesson in Alaska on Instagram. Like the serendipitous is a whole nother thing that's my religion if there was one. Serendipitous, the way things work out for me is glorious. And so I wanted more play. I wanted something different, left in a van, went out in Alaska, but I took my two best friends with me, which is so cool. So cool. So 3 women, because I was 34, 33, and they were 36 maybe in that age. Like we were grown ass women taking off to go play in a van to drive from Florida to Alaska, the continent. Okay. That was so epic. So I really love experiencing that with other people, because when you're having those experiences of playing and doing something very dramatically out of your comfort zone, you absolutely find out things about yourself. And so to be able to reflect them back to somebody who can witness you, right? There's something different. There's another conversation I would have with as long as I possibly can about, it's hard to tell the truth because people aren't really listening and they're like oftentimes very distracted, and any type of communication is just really challenging when you're wanting to get to know yourself and you need somebody to not be your soundboard, but to just be present and hear you and know that it's safe for you to share what you have to say. So the 2 girlfriends that I went with are very much like that. We could say the hard shit, we could say the easy shit, we could say the like some crazy off the wall. Like we kept always serendipitously like coming up with stuff. So it was kind of like when 2 or more are gathered, magic appears. And play for me has that power, because pleasure and present and play all happen in like the realm of what I would imagine would be more of like my soul or my essence. I don't find that when I'm practicing play very often, I'm not that scared about what the world or the universe has for me. Albert Einstein has a great quote, and he says, The only thing you really have to ask yourself is if you think the universe is friendly or not. And the universe is friendly in the way that I go after it for play, right? Like, so I have this conversation pretty often with people who are like wanting their life to be easy, and they think that easy is the right thing, or, you know, certain things, you know, if they're meant to be, they'll be easy, but that's not really true. And play isn't easy, right? Like sex isn't easy. Making money isn't easy. Things that have effort for them are actually what's more, I guess, like, I don't want to say more beneficial, but only expecting that you want things to be easy, you're going to be missing out on a lot of other things in life. And a lot of other things in life that cause effort and break sweat are usually pretty good. So play is another opportunity for you to put in effort for just pleasure. And that's challenging, right? We are a tally and sort of a merit, kind of like, you did a good job, check. But like, no one's really giving you a lot of credit for play. You're the only person who's going to give you credit. And you're the only person who's going to understand what it feels like, the experience of it when you do it. So here's thought experiences and experiments is, can you play? And what type of relationship do you have with it? When you're just playing with a little kid. For instance, I was watching a little girl the other day, and she just kept wanting to be like, sharks everywhere. And I was just like, how funny that we would play scared. Like, I don't really want to play scary. Like, I want to play like, oh, look at this. We're going to go on an adventure in a mystical, whimsical woods. Like, you know, like, what does play mean for you? And what's your relationship with it? And for me, again, I have said it a couple of times now, but the way that the thread goes through these concepts in life, something else kind of mentioned, a great way of saying it is like there's a cord or a string inside of you, and it gets struck and you're like, yes, get this. And that's kind of where I'm at with applying multiple concepts to like who I am. How am I learning about myself? I hear some things in human design, and these are like, study in school is play for me, actually. And I know that's like a little bit backwards, but I also definitely like rollerblade and bike and hike and kayak and dance, and like I'd just be doing a lot of stuff. Paddleboard and like just swim, I play. And so a lot of these things, though, when I'm like reading about them and I'm playfully like understanding myself, they strike a chord. And then it gives me the opportunity to put it into play. And usually when I'm playing, it gives me the opportunity to sort of integrate the thought. Because anything outside of just being me and what's right for me kind of exits my mind, and like what's right for me comes clear. So like epiphanies and connections and just noticing nature around you. When you're playing and you ask yourself, what's the nature of my reality? The nature of your reality at that moment is play. So as much as you possibly can, ask yourself that question, what's the nature of my reality? But also kind of make sure that you're playing. And you can bring play into everything. And that's just like a whole nother topic and conversation. But I'm really glad that there's somebody out there that finds this information interesting, because I would have. And thank you again for being in my space. And more to come.